Hey guys, it occurred to me the other day that not everybody can do simple oil change. It seems simple enough, but if you don't know, you don't know. So I figured, hey, why not? Here we go. This is a 2012 Toyota Camry. First off, make sure that you get the correct oil for the car that you have. So you need oil and an oil filter. I've got the car running right now because it's been sitting for a couple of days and I want to get the oil hot enough that it just drains easier. Don't want to get it so hot that I burn myself doing the job. So on cars like this, pretty low to the ground, you could jack them up. One easy way to do it if you start doing it yourself is to get some ramps. They basically go right up against the tires. Make sure you get them nice and straight. Put the tires in the middle and then ease up into them until you feel a little resistance. Don't want to guess on it too much and go over them, but those ramps will stop you right there. If you were to go over them, you could jack the car and take them out from under there. All right, once you get the car up on the ramps, kind of check it. That's step one. Okay, so I've turned off the car and I've got it in park. I went ahead and put the parking brake on. We want to be safe. As you can see, picked up 0W20 motor oil. That's what we want. Also got an air filter for it and an oil filter. So most of the time you'll do your oil and your oil filter. You should check the air filter to make sure it's not too dirty. Obviously your engine needs to breathe. I'll show you that in a second. It's time for this one. Gonna pop open the oil cap and just kind of leave it on there so no debris goes in. All right, let's see if we can film this without being too confusing. Some cars, like my truck, you'll have the engine and oil pan and then the transmission going back. In some cars, they'll be kind of side to side. But the bottom line is, you'll look for the biggest, bulkiest pan that you can see with a bolt underneath. Some of them will actually be labeled oil. I believe, well, this one's not. It's not labeled, that's okay. But you can see that's the main part of the engine. Right beneath the engine, you got this oil pan. Off to the side, you've got the oil filter. We'll unbolt this, let all the oil out of the engine, and drop it into an oil pan. You can buy these pans fairly cheap, and they last practically forever. You also have tools to remove the oil filter. On some vehicles, you'll use one of these tools where it tightens around the oil filter. On some cars such as this, you may require a special tool. This is like $5 to $7. In this car, it requires a 9/16 socket to remove the oil from the oil pan. All right, so here you'll use the socket to put on the bolt. And again, you'll have to think and say, okay, right, which would be clockwise, is tightening. Left, which would be counterclockwise, is loosening. So we want to turn our socket so we can turn towards the left. So here we're draining the oil, took the bolt out, and then we'll replace that bolt. And like I said, you want to put that bolt on, again, turning clockwise, and you want to put it on just snug enough that it doesn't leak, but you don't want to over tighten it and strip it. It can be done. You can actually look up the torque specs. All right, I've got it loose. Now I'm going to finish turning it by hand. This is where it tends to make a bit of a mess. Okay, so on some cars you'll have a metal filter that you just unscrew with one of these or even by hand, and the whole metal piece has the filter inside and just goes back on. Has a little rubber gasket on the edge of the metal. Other cars, like this one, you have a filter that basically comes apart this way. It's a plastic housing that you just keep on, and you only replace the inside guts and the seals. Okay, got the new filter in, replaced the seal, made sure that it went right back in the same little lip area. If you had one of those metal canisters that has the rubber gasket on top, make sure that that gasket is not stuck on the car itself. Make sure that the gasket came off with the old canister. So now we're essentially done underneath. We've got the oil out of the car. We changed the oil filter. We're going to take that pan out and we'll start refilling it up top, right where it says oil. If yours does not have the oil type or weight, you can look it up in your owner's manual. Now, you don't want to pour the entire contents of this, or maybe half the contents in there. Usually what I do, just ease back off the ramps, put it on level ground, and at that point, check my dipstick. So most dipsticks are labeled engine oil, just like this one. And I'll show you in a second. Once I put some oil in there, then you want to start checking that dipstick. Make sure that it comes out to the correct level. Slowly pour in oil through here and keep checking this. Keep pouring, keep checking. When it's between the two markers that I'll show you in a little bit, then you're good and you've changed your oil. But essentially, be very careful not to drop any debris in here. I covered the area so in case I miss, since I don't have a funnel, oil doesn't get back there, and if it does, this rag will soak it. And you can see those two marks. Every car is a little different. Some of them will actually have some slashes, but essentially you'll have two marks, the low mark and the high mark. You want to have the oil between those two markers. You want to pour a little at a time, and it's better to check this too many times than to overfill and have it too full. That's not good. It's hard to see, but now we're almost pretty much to the top. So now we're going to crank the car and see where the level goes to. This back on, put the cover back on, or the cap. Dipsticks back in, and now we can crank the car. Usually you'll crank it for about 5 to 10 seconds, and that'll circulate enough of the oil that everything goes where it should be. The level will then come back down when you turn it off, and then you'll know where your true level. I took the dipstick out, cleaned it up, put it back in. We're going to pull it out and check the level. As you can see, it's back at the lower mark. That's what happens when you run it. All the oil goes into the places that it had drained out of. So Toyota, we ended up emptying the entire 5 quarts, and I already knew that's what it was going to take, but like I said, I wanted to show you the process. Now when I take the dipstick out, it's 3/4 of the way up, and that's it, guys. I'll show you now the air filter, and we'll see where we go from there. That's where your air filter is at. If you're not sure on your car, or you just can't seem to figure it out, you can again Google that. In this particular car, you have these little latches right here. You pull on it this way. Same here, just like that. It's got 2 little hooks right here that you pull out, and just gently, so you don't damage anything, it should open up enough that you can get to the air filter and change it out. And of course you want to make sure it matches. Okay guys, once it's open, you literally pop the box up, and this filter comes out. To do this every oil change? No. You commute in an area that's got a lot of dirt in the air, then this is going to get dirtier faster. Whereas if you're in town or in a city, this will not get as dirty as quickly. So you may go 3, 4, 5 oil changes without changing this out. But it's worth checking every time. Now, even if you decide, hey, I don't really feel like I want to do my own oil changes, you'll be a little more aware of what's going on in the shop when you do take it to a shop, on what they're doing and what they're talking about when they say oil filter versus air filter versus the type of oil that you use, and how much. I want to show you the new one. You can see the difference. Much nicer, much wider, much cleaner. So you want to pay attention to how it came out and how it fits in the box. All right, guys, hopefully this was helpful. Now you know all about oil changes, or at least enough to, if you want to try it, I hope you do. You might save a few bucks. And in the process, we'll feel a little more empowered and a little more in control. Guys, almost forgot an important detail. On these newer cars, they actually tell you when to change the oil. When I go to turn this car on and crank it, you'll actually see that maintenance required engine flash. If I'd gone a little longer, it would have stayed on. That's telling me it was time for the oil change in my car. So what I'm going to do is reset that. And every car is different. You can look it up in your owner's manual, but an important part is to reset that so you're not constantly seeing that annoying flashing light or change oil or oil life not being at 100%. And that's important because that's going to help you remember when you're supposed to change the oil. All right, guys, again, hope that was helpful and empowering, and see y'all in the next video.